everybody, welcome to another D3+2 battle report. This time it's going to be 1250 points of Tau Empire versus 1250 points of my brand new Tyranids. And yeah, this is going to be an uphill struggle, but let's see what happens anyway. So we'll go over the lists first of all. The Tau are actually being led by an ethereal. That's not Unshi or Unvi, I always get them confused. It's actually just a stand-in for a bog standard regular ethereal with no upgrades. I've never ran an ethereal ever, so this is a first for me. And then we've also got a Cadre Fireblade. He's just going to help power up the Fire Warriors. Speaking of which, there is 2 squads of 6 Fire Warriors, no upgrades. And then there is, actually they might have bonding knives, I can't remember now. And then there's 1 squad of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Fire Warriors. They'll be joining the Cadre. Hammerhead, no upgrades at all, just taking it naked. Stealth suits, again I haven't used them very much at all. 4 of them, 1 of them have a fusion blaster. 2 Riptides equipped as you see them, so both have the ion accelerators. This one has smart missile pods, this one twin link fusion blaster. They both have stimulant injectors to give them feel no pain. Broadsides equipped again basically as you see them, smart missile systems, heavy rail rifles. I don't think I gave them seeker missiles though. Only 2 missile pods due to costs. And sniper drones as I usually run them, 1 commander with 6 sniper drones. That's it other than warlord trait. The ethereal got through Unity Devastation, so for 1 turn anything within 12 inches could reroll misses of 1 I think? Or is it all misses? I can't remember. Either way it's a pretty good one because he's going to be hiding amongst the Fire Warriors as well. On to the Tyranids, now with Painted Swarmlord. I told you I couldn't wait to paint him. So there we go, he's being led, well the Tyranids are being led by the Swarmlord. His psychic powers this time are Dominion, Catalyst, the Horror and Psychic Scream. Troops, 6 Gene Stealers. They will be going into reserve this game, I promise. I will try them out as per suggestions that were in the comments in the last couple of reports. 13 Gaunts as well, no upgrades. Oh, the Gene Stealers have adrenal glands. Tyrant Guard, no upgrades. The Zone Tropes, as always, it's a unit of 1 and then a unit of 2. The unit of 1 has Warp Blast and Onslaught. The unit of 2 has Warp Blast and Psychic Scream. 2 Daka Carnifexes, so ×2 twin-linked Brain Leech Devourers each. Horror Specs with Adrenal Glands and Toxin Sacs, and then 2 squads of 3 Spore Mines. So that's it, we'll be back in a second with the deployment and the mission type, etc. And here we are at deployment, in a repeat of the game against Space Marines recently. It's Dawn of War deployment, Purge the Alien, so everything seems to be going wrong for the Tyranids that could possibly go wrong. They won the roll-off and opted to deploy first though, so they decided to try and deploy cleverly by spreading themselves very dangerously thin given Synapse, so that the Tau couldn't bunch up in one corner and, you know, just create a wall of death. Otherwise they would get picked off at the sides around unblockable scenery that blocks line of sight rather. So anyway, the Horror Specs set up there, the squad of 2 Zone Tropes set up there. The Gaunts are there. The single zone is behind the Carnifexes who are staring down one of the Riptides over there. And the Swarmlord and the Tyrant Guard deployed in the corner over here. So basically I considered the 2 biggest threats being the Horror Specs and the Swarmlord, so I put them the furthest possible distance apart so that one would get picked on and the other one wouldn't, in theory. So this is the Tau deployment. Sorry about the fast cam. In response. So the Ethereal and the Cadre are both down in this corner, so this is going to be a gun line of death, considering all the bonus shots they're going to get thanks to the Ethereal's powers and also the Cadre's, assuming that the squad doesn't move. They're defended by Riptide Prime there. The stealth suits couldn't really infiltrate anywhere decent given that lots of line of sights are covered, so they're just deployed in deployment. And there's the sniper drones perched in the building here, good line of sight on a lot of stuff sadly. The second Riptide, just standing in the open really, a little bit back from the line of where the deployment ends. The broadsides are also doing the same. They're not up to the line, they're further back because that's the smart thing to do. The Hammerhead is also doing the same. And 1 squad of Fire Warriors is basically just forming a line with their bodies to defend against charges. That's the only reason they're there. So, all that remains is to see if the Tau steal first turn. And if they do, this is going to be a bloodbath. Oh! Well then. Tau turn 1. So after stealing the initiative, this is end of Tau turn 1, and it was Operation Get First Blood, and they achieved it, but it did come at a cost. everything in this half of the map. Also, I just realised I forgot to do the Riptide assault moves. I'll do them off camera before the start of the turn. It's turn 1. Yes, everything in this side of the table. The stealth suits couldn't reach, but the snipers in the building, this Riptide, this unit firing twice because they stood still at maximum range, and the front 3 of this squad, because they were the only ones in range, all fired into Horospecs, left them on 1 wound. So then the other Riptide, from down the table over there, fired his Ion Accelerator, didn't actually manage to hit, rolled very badly. So it came down to the Hammerhead firing a long shot from all the way down the other end of the table, annihilated him. He got cover because of a lot of intervening terrain, but that didn't help him. So the Horospecs is just gone, obliterated off the table by most of the Tau forces it took to take him out actually, so that was the only lucky thing. Yep, Tau got first blood. Other than that, the broadsides and the missile pods fired into the Carnifexes. They did 2 wounds to this one, who's slightly closer than the other one to them. And that was it. And there was no psychic phase. That's the good thing about Tau. I don't have to worry about a psychic phase because they don't have any psychers. So that was all that happened. I'll do the Riptide assault moves. Oh, also they both used their Nova engines. They both got it, and they both got 3+ invulns to protect them. So now we're going to turn it to turn 1 after I do the assault moves. Here we are at the end of Tyranids turn 1, and essentially all the army moved up. So after making their moves forward, in fact I think everything moved forwards to be a bit ballsy. In the psychic phase, the squad of 2 Zoanthropes manifested Warp Blast. By the way, for the purposes of measuring, this one is actually like kind of on there, but I couldn't balance it, so he's just to the side so he doesn't fall over. They manifested Warp Blast, the blast template, which is 24 inches, which actually just pegged the front fire warrior of this squad, so they went for it because the Ethereal was there. So actually the HQ of the Tau side is more exposed than was originally thought, given the range, although they did have to move themselves in a pretty bad position to do it. Anyway, the first blast, scattered wildly, landed in this building on the commander. His cover save for being in the building saved him. And the second blast scattered a bit as well, but it managed to peg 3 fire warriors. Killed 3 at first, but then I realised the Ethereal did the bubble of 6+ Funeral Pains, so 1 Funeral Pain made it, because it's not strength 6, it's strength 5, so they do actually still get Funeral Pain. And that comprises the only casualties of the Tau. 2 fire warriors, that's it. Oh, I didn't do their leadership actually, because that is 4th of their squad, isn't it? I'll do that off camera, I'll work it out if they actually need to or not. The rest of the psychic phase. The Swarm Lord cast Catalyst on his own unit, so they now have Feel No Pain. He also did Dominion just for the sake of it, because he had like 6 dice left over afterwards. There was 5 power dice in the phase. The Tau used it all to try and stop the double warp blast attack, but failed. The Carnifexes moved up and ran. The Swarm Lord and his unit ran. Zoanthrope ran. He is actually kind of touching in the scenery now, but again, to balance him, had to pull him back. And the Gaunts conga lined with a very good run actually. The Carnifexes got a 5 for their run. Swarm Lord got a 5 for his run. The Gaunts got a 6 for their run. That is about the only plus point. If they don't get shot off the table in the next turn, there's a possibility of something getting into combat, but I guess we'll see as we go into Tau, turn 2. End of Tau turn 2, and in the movement phase it saw the Ethereal get a bit worried about his position, so he and the remaining fire warriors joined to him. Moved a little bit. They're going to aim to hide behind the building, or perhaps within the building, just on the off chance the Zoanthropes survived the shooting. This unit stood still so they could fire 2 shots thanks to the Cadre special rule. The Riptide used, in fact both Riptides successfully used their Nova engines again to get 3+ invulns. He was originally theirs, but I've done assault moves this time. Snipers stayed still. The stealth unit moved up and around to shoot at the Gaunts. Everything else down the other end of the table pretty much stood still. The front fire warrior squad moved up slightly so that they would be within rapid fire range. No psychic phase, so we can go straight to the shooting. This unit, and also this Riptide, and that was it I think. I can't remember if the snipers joined in. No, the snipers tried as well. They all shot into the unit of 2 Zoanthropes. In the end, 1 died. The snipers got lots of hits, but didn't get any wounds, so it was actually the fire warriors and the Riptide that finished off the single zone, so that one is still alive and he's technically there, as I was saying in the last turn. The stealth suits opted to fire their burst cannons and fusion blaster into the Gaunts that they could see. They murdered 4 of them, but they're fearless due to still being in synapse range, so they're still charging. I must say, everything being fearless when it's synapse is very handy when your one mission is run up the table and try not to die before you get into combat. The broadsides fired into the Carnifexes, as did the Hammerhead, and that resulted in the new closest Carnifex also taking 2 wounds, so they're both down to 2 wounds. And finally, the unit of 6 fire warriors that moved up to be in rapid fire range, they rapid fired into the Tyrant Guard and did 1 wound on this one here. So that's it. No units got entirely wiped out, but there was again more casualties. So we're going to go into Tyranids turn 2 now, but we're going to check on reserves first of all. I didn't say what that was going to be, so let's not count that. Let's do Spore Mines 1, they're in. Spore Mines 2, they're not in. And Gene Stealers, I'm counting these as all +1 by the way because of the Swarm Lord. So Gene Stealers and 1 squad of Spore Mines are coming in. This was an interesting Tyranids turn 2. We began with the Gene Stealers coming on from outflanking reserves. You have to roll for which side, either your left or right, they come in from. They got the right. And as far as I'm aware, that means they can just come on anywhere up the right border, so I opted for them to come up here. I wasn't sure if you were allowed to do it in the enemy's deployment zone, so please let me know, because I never use outflank, so I'm not used to it. So let me know if it's acceptable that they're there or not. If they weren't allowed to be in the deployment zone, it would just mean that they're like there-ish instead, so there's not much difference. The whole army essentially moved up again. The Swarm Lord and his unit did, the Carnifexes did, the single zone, or they're both single zones now thanks to casualties, but this one moved into cover, so he's got a cover save to save him, although he's got an invuln, so it doesn't matter. Gaunts moved up, single zone also moved into more cover. In the psychic phase, this zone's group once again tried to manifest Warp Blast. The Tau once again tried to use the only power dice they had from the roll, which was 5 this time actually. No, 6. To try and deny it, but they didn't because I made sure by rolling many dice to cast it. No pearls, thankfully. Once again tried to land it on the Ethereal and his surviving fire wards. Killed 2 of them. And actually, once again I remembered I didn't do their leadership for casualties that turn, so they're not going to fail it. They're totally fine. So yeah, they're still fine, but they took 2 casualties, so it's now just the Ethereal and 2 fire warriors. Oh, also, got a direct hit to the Spore Mines, so they're right there and they're going to have to get dealt with or they're going to explode on something. The Gaunts fired into the stealth suits and actually managed to kill 2 of them. They also attempted to charge in the assault phase and took 3 casualties on the way in, 2 from the stealth suits themselves and then 1 from supporting fire from the snipers. So they failed their charge afterwards as well because the distance increased quite significantly after the casualties on the way in, sadly. The Carnifexes had a lot of good luck thanks to the Swarm Lord giving them preferred enemy because they were within range to receive that. They fired their 24 twin link shots into the broadside unit, and as I say, thanks to preferred enemy, lots and lots of hits, lots and lots of wounds. Well, the hits were due to being twin linked, but you know what I mean. The broadsides are dead. They're too many wounds, just they got annihilated, so they are wiped out for a point. The Swarm Lord and his Tyrant Guard moved up. They charged the unit of 6 that were bodyguarding the tank in the broadside. They didn't lose anything on the way in, and as to be expected, smashed the Tau without any casualties. They then consolidated a measly 2 inches, so that's why the corpses are a bit further back. It was just to make room for their consolidation. So that is it. They actually managed to score a point there. They wiped out one of the troop choices for the Tau. They wiped out the broadside. So this side of the map is looking good for Tyranids. This side, not so much. And now we're going to go into Tau turn 3. End of Tau turn 3, and really the only movement was the repositioning of the Riptides in the assault phase with their jetpacks, so we're going to jump straight to the shooting phase since there's no psychic powers either. The Spore Mines got shut off the table. The Ethereal used his Through Unity Devastation Warlord trait, so everything within 12 inches was re-rolling 1s this turn, which helped a lot. So the 2 Fire Warriors surviving and also the Stealth Suit survivors had to join in, wipe the Spore Mines out. They had to join in because this big squad shot into the surviving Zoanthrope of the unit of 2 and killed him. That meant that this Riptide Prime, who was originally theirs prior to his assault move, could shoot into the Gaunts. He actually missed quite a bit and only killed 2 of them, but, you know, small victories. The Sniper Drones fired into the unit of 1 zone and did 1 wound, so he's now just down to 1 wound. The other Riptide, who was originally a bit further forwards prior to his jetpack move, fired into the Carnifexes and managed to outright kill the one that had 2 wounds left that was closest to him. The Hammerhead pretty much reserved itself to the fact that it's probably going to get destroyed by the Swarm Lord next turn, so he opted not to try and weaken the Tyrant Guard, and instead just wanted to wipe the Carnifexes out. His twin-linked pulse carbines, because I didn't upgrade to the smart missile systems, did 1 wound, so this Carnifex is down to 1 wound. His railgun missed though. And that is it, so now we're going to go into Tyranids Turn 3. Small addition that I forgot, Riptide Prime here attempted to use his Nova engine and wounded himself. The other Riptide opted to use his sub-weapon twice, which contributed to killing the Carnifexes. Tyranid Turn 3 began with the other squad of Spore Mines coming in from reserves and getting a scatter. They were originally a little bit closer. Scattered there, they're still barely out of the mishap range of touching the Riptide, or 1 inch within. Movement, the Carnifexes moved up. The Gaunts, in order to deny themselves, moved back and then ran backwards. So they're basically just trying to hide to try and deny the kill point, essentially. Psychic Phase, the Swarm Lord got Catalyst on himself. The Single Zone fired Warp Blast. It was attempted to be denied but didn't. Landed on stealth suits and actually killed the stealth suits. And yes, I was remembering they have stealth, so they have a 6+ in the cover, but in the open rather. But that didn't save them, so the stealth suits have been annihilated by the Zoanthrope. The price of probably the Zone dying in the next turn, but still, at least it was another casualty. The Carnifex moved up, the Survivor, with 1 wound, and shot into the Riptide that was closest to him. Did nothing. What else? That was it as far as shooting in Psychic Phase. The Swarm Lord and the Tyrant Guard easily charged into the Hammerhead, easily glanced it to death, but there was no pens, believe it or not, it was all blooming glances. And I remembered for once that you don't get to consolidate when you finish killing off a vehicle, so they're still there. The Gene Stealers moved. I actually forgot to run them, so I will do that in a second. And that is it as we go into Tau Turn 4. There's not much left on the table for either side, actually. End of Tau Turn 4, and once again the only real moving was the Riptides in the Assault Phase with their jetpack moves, so I'm going to skip straight ahead to shooting. This unit, the ones that could actually reach, which were the front 4, combined with the Cadre giving them an extra shot into the Zoanthrope in cover over there and did enough wounds that he failed enough saves that his final wound disappeared. So that's him dead. This Riptide, who was originally standing there, opted to fire at the surviving Carnifex. Yes, the Carnifex. Killed it, so it's dead. The snipers opted to fire at the Gaunts before they got totally out of view and managed to kill 2 of them. They're also out of synapse range now, incidentally, because the Swarm Lord is the last synapse thing on the board. This Riptide, who was originally further forwards prior to his jetpack move, shot into the Tyrant Guard and the Swarm Lord and did nothing to him. So as far as the Tyranid side goes, it's just the Gene Stealers, the Swarm Lord and his Tyrant Guard, and the 3 Gaunts over there that are left on the table. So this could very well be a tabling in the process as we go into Tyranids Turn 4. Once again, a couple of additions, very sorry about this. The 2 surviving Fire Warriors with the Thero there, they shot into the Spore Mines with the power that gives them an extra shot at half range, wiped them out. And I forgot to mention the reason the Riptide is assault jumping in this direction is so that he can get Line Breaker for the Tau side. And this has been a super quick Tyranid Turn 4, basically because there's no guns, well there is technically on the Gaunts, but there's no guns that matter left on this side. So the Gaunts moved backwards. They also did a run move just to ensure that the snipers couldn't even see a tiny shred of them. The Swarm Lord and his bodyguard moved up and ran. The Gene Stealers also moved up and ran behind them. And that is basically it for the Tyranid Turn. I haven't been mentioning it, but in the Psychic Phase each turn, the Swarm Lord has been successfully getting Catalyst cast on his units so they have Feel No Pain. It hasn't been an issue up till now. There is less Psychers on the board now, so the only difference between Paradise is the 3 provided by the Swarm Lord, but he still managed to get it this turn. There was no 6s rolled on the Tau side. So now we're going to go into Tau Turn 5. Yeah, another quick turn as we get to the end of Tau Turn 5. The unit with the Cadre stayed still. The Ethereal and his 2 surviving Fire Warriors moved out of the cover they were in at the bottom of the building there and then also ran. They're basically just making sure the Swarm Lord isn't going to catch them for the remainder of the match, because the next turn could be the last one. This Riptide, who was originally theirs, by the way, both Riptides got their 3+ invulns without any mistakes, and also once again I forgot to mention that the instinctual behaviour test for the Gaunts, it was passed, so I didn't get to see anything bad happen. We will eventually, I'm sure. Anyway, prior to using the assault move to move back there, he fired his Twin Link Fusion Blaster and Ion Accelerator into the Tyrant Guard, and he got 2 wounds, which eviscerated 1. Well, we got 1 wound through, I mean. Also, I totally forgot they have Feel No Pain, but I believe Ion Accelerator is strength 8. Let me quickly check, because if not, he does get Feel No Pain rolls. And that was my dog making a noise, if you heard it. Ion Accelerator is, no, it's only strength 7, so he would have had a Feel No Pain roll, so that was 2 wounds. 1 would have been saved, so he's actually on 1 wound. So he's still alive on 1 wound. So that was the only real shooting. The only other thing that happened was a little tricksy move by Riptide Prime all the way down here. Smart missile systems have homing, which means they don't need line of sight. So he attempted to shoot the 3 surviving Gaunts. For his first roll, for 4 hits, he rolled 2 2s and 2 1s. So it's smart, it's twin linked rather, so he got to re-roll. He re-rolled and got 2 2s and 2 1s. So the Gaunts survived. And now we're going to go into what is potentially the last turn of the game, which is Tyranids turn 5. And at the end of Tyranids turn 5, I'm afraid I'm going to be repeating myself again because not much happened. No shooting. The Swarm Lord in the Psychic Phase got Catalyst off, barely this time. Over here, the Gaunts moved up, or moved along rather, and ran. They're trying to put some distance between themselves and Riptide Prime over there on the off chance this goes another turn. The Gene Stealers, they moved up and ran. The Swarm Lord and the Tyrant Guard moved up and ran. The distance to some Tau units is closing, but that may not matter because this was the end of turn 5, so does the game continue? Ah, yes it does. Alright, we're going into turn 6. And at the end of turn 6, the Riptide that was hanging around to get Line Breaker actually had line of sight onto the Gaunts. He used his Ion Accelerator and killed them to man. I forgot to do one more additional synapse test for them, so but either way they're dead now, so even if they had gotten the bad result on Lurk, they would have just sat still or ran towards cover. Over here, the Riptide actually got a massive boost with his jetpack in the assault phase. It was 11 inches, but prior to that he was obviously here to fire, and also the sniper drones that could see also fired into the Swarm Lord and his guard. There was good rounding hits from the sniper drones, so that outright got one of them, 2 wounds, took out that guard. The Riptide whiffed a little bit, but he did actually get 1 wound through, which killed another one. So there's just the Swarm Lord and 1 Tyrant Guard on 1 wound remaining. And now we're going to go into Tyranids, turn 6. End of Tyranids turn 6, and there wasn't really much the Tyranids could do because of the positioning over here. There's lots of supporting fire that will be going on during any charge, and also they were too far away. Even if where the Swarm Lord is currently now, that's just out of a 12-inch charge, so even at the apex of the maximum possible charge, he wasn't going to make it, plus they're in cover, so it's actually physically impossible. The Gene Stealers moved up anyway, and Catalyst was cast once more, but that's it. So we're going to see if the game goes on to turn 7. Would it have? It would not have. So it was probably going to be called there anyway, but it's definitely over now, so we'll be back in a second to work out the points. So all in all, that was a very bloody game. I actually thought the Tyranids were going to get tabled. In fact, if it went to turn 7, it's very possible, if not a tabling, a very near tabling. They held up okay. There was a lot of unlucky rolls. The Horsepex is the red-headed stepchild of this army for sure. But anyway, to go over the points, the Tau got first blood. Both sides have Line Breaker. The Tyranids killed the broadsides fully. They killed 1 squad of the 6 fire warriors fully. Unfortunately, 2 of that squad are still surviving with the ethereal, so that's a point denied. They fully killed the stealth suits, so that's a total of 4 points. The Tau killed the Carnifexes, killed the squad of 1 Zoanthrope, killed the squad of 2 Zoanthropes, killed the Horsepex, and fully killed the Gaunts. The Spore Mines do not count because they're not scoring, but that still brings their total to 7. So 7 plays 4. So it's a Tau victory. My Tau army remains undefeated. Not really that surprising given the army that we're up against. Thinking ahead of what I might do with my Tyranid army, I think they need some kind of long range support or something that can get into enemy lines really quick. So any Tyranid players who are watching this, what is your opinion on, if I had to pick one, because you know I'm not wanting to blow a lot of money, if I had to pick between a Tyrannifex or oh, what's the name of them? The ones that come out the ground and there's an HQ version that has like electro grubs. I'm blanking on the name. I'll look into it. Trigon Prime! I honestly paused the video to go check because it was bugging me. So yeah, a Trigon Prime it doesn't scatter when it pops up, it's pretty sturdy, so it can get right behind enemy lines really early on, especially if you bring the Swarmlord as well, because he would affect the reserve rolls. Tyrannofex on the other hand is the only 2+ save in the Tyranid army. It's got 6 wounds, it's toughness 6 as well, and it's got long range strength 10, or depends how you equip it really. But what's your opinion if you only had to pick between one of those two to get added onto this list? What do you think would be better to fit the theme of how I'm playing them, which is I actually want to try and keep them as a mainly assault army. And yes, I know assault is bad in 7th edition, but the whole reason I started Tyranids was to have an assault army. I've got plenty of shooty armies, like the Tau for instance. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I think in the future I probably will put more DAC effects into the list as well though, because they can do really good shooting and really good hand-to-hand. But yeah, that's going to conclude this one. If you enjoyed the video, please do consider leaving a like, and that's probably going to do it for the battle reports I'm recording with the Tyranids in this little holiday I took. But I think the finish, maybe going to do like one big matchup of say Tau versus Space Marines, because I think that those are the armies I can get the highest points with. But thank you for watching anyway, stay tuned for more, and I will see you next time. Ta-ta for now.